I want to talk a little bit more about transmuting your mind when you are under the influence of an addiction and can't get out of it. It could be, and when I say addiction, that could be anything. That could be a substance, or it could be an addiction to a feeling that you get from going to the gym all the time and being obsessed about it. It's basically an obsession with anything, an obsession with sex, an obsession with picking at your skin, an obsession or addiction with shopping, whatever. But for this video, I'm going to use the example of smoking cigarettes, because I talk to people who have addictions to tobacco about this a lot. And the point I want to stress right off the bat is that it doesn't do your mental state, your thoughts, your self-worth any good to pour on a bunch of shame on top of yourself while you are thoroughly still addicted. Or actually, I would just say shame in general, in any case, is not good. But especially when you are in the throngs of some kind of addiction, it's not good to do self-deprecating or negative self-talk or any kind of negative feed. It is good to have an aggressive approach if you really want to quit and you want to tell yourself through mantra or whatever that is what you're going to do. That's good. But if it involves any kind of negative self-talk, that is, in my opinion, and the basis of this video, a very poor choice. And I will tell you my opinion why. I think that I think that everything is mental. I believe in Hermeticism, Hermes, Thoth, and the main focal point of that is that the universe is mental and that all is mind. Now, if everything is mind and we're in a sort of a physical simulation of a physical experience, then we have to understand that everything that's physically happening is a simulation. Therefore, how we think about it is actually where the real experience is happening. Our thoughts are the real experience. And in fact, this is really well demonstrated in a way when it comes to health, when you find cases where people have cured their diseases through their thoughts, through their positive thinking and visualization, and people marvel and wonder at that, about how that could possibly occur. Now, I think I know how it occurs. I believe that it's because the mind, your thoughts are your most powerful tool, because that's where real shit is happening. So when it comes to doing things obsessively, addictively, to think negatively only feeds into the negative addiction. If you already know it's bad, pouring more bad thoughts on top of it just pours more bad, negative thoughts into it. And if it came down to, say, a health thing, I also know from research that some people who get diagnosed with cancer, people who get diagnosed and freak out, some people, now, this is not everyone, Okay, life is not completely going to be symmetrical and easily matching up and everything. And there's extraneous details and things that we don't understand. But some people, when they get diagnosed with cancer, become very upset and very drawn into the tragedy and the negative aspects of it, and die very quickly. And there are also groups, and I'm talking about control groups, people that have been studied. There are some people who, going into it, find out that they have cancer, go into that reality with a fighter mentality, and therefore their thoughts are a lot more powerful about living and survive. Now, like I said, there's so many different, we're just doing thought experiment here, okay? There's so many different variations in between this, but this has been proven in a lot of ways. Placebo has been proven. Now, what is placebo? Placebo is basically a simulation. It's giving someone, say in the medical way and the health way, a fake pill, telling them that it's real, which is the power of suggestion. Very, very strong tool. Telling them that it's real, and that person going on in the next maybe 1 to 6 months to a year of their life believing that these pills are real and curing or healing themselves just by the power of belief through the power of suggestion. And so placebo has absolutely been proven to be extremely effective. And why is that? Because it's all in the mind, most of it. Now, any kind of detail that's outside that doesn't fall into this category is for another video. To wonder about what about those other things. There's different details and hidden things that we couldn't possibly know or put into a real scientific experiment that could completely follow through, because there's human error and different details that some people won't even ever reveal, that we could never really know. And following a really strict scientific procedure, it's difficult to get to really gather the kind of information that I feel like one can gather from their own observations or their own study or their own intuition on things. If you're smoking cigarettes, what I tell to my smoker friends is if you're going to smoke and you know tomorrow you will smoke, if tomorrow you're still going to smoke, there's no reason to say, pulling out your cigarette and being like, oh, I know I should quit. And that's not even that negative. But even I tell them, if you know that you should quit, you should never even talk about a should, could, would, anything. You should just quietly in your head know that that's what you're going to do. There's no shoulds to knowing. If you know you're going to do something, you will. If you say you know you should, that most likely means that you're not quitting. You just think that you feel maybe a prejudice or shame, or you feel judged. So I feel that if you are going to be doing something, you should positively talk to yourself and maybe not even speak to yourself about your problem out loud. If you want to speak in your head and tell yourself, oh, Sally, I think tomorrow we're going to try it again. We're going to try and do this again because I really am not enjoying hacking up along in the middle of the night and bothering myself. I'm this and that. So let's try again tomorrow. One foot in front of the other, baby steps. But if you say things out loud, that's a very powerful thing, especially when you say it in front of people, because saying things to people is it's really affirming. It's affirming. In fact, me making this video me speaking to you is affirmation of my belief on this, which further makes it concrete in my mind and also in the group consciousness. Because I put it out here in this way, it's because it's a mental stimulation. Mentally, I am saying this out loud, speakerphoning it to people. It is my belief in the moment now, and has been for a while. It could change, but it like cements it, it anchors it into the consciousness. So saying shitty things, negative things about your addiction out loud is never really good, and negative self-talk in your head is never good. If you want to quit, you should quit. If you're not going to quit and you know that you can't, you should not talk negatively about it. In fact, and I know this is controversial, I think you should be positive about it. Now, why do I think this? Because I think placebo effect works. If you are positive to yourself about your addiction, you might actually, again, this is a hypothesis of mine, but you might actually be able to rearrange the molecular structure of your body in conjunct to the toxins that you're taking in. They could all of a sudden have a new relationship based upon how you feel about them. If you think that your body and cigarettes are fighting all the time, they might likely fight all the time inside you. If you think that you and cigarettes are just fine and that's what you like and that's what you do, that might be that cordial relationship that they have inside of your body. Again, this is a hypothesis, but I do also root this in to the belief, which is at the very least, not at least, but at the very least, through the placebo effect, which has been proven to be completely legit, that at the very least, the thought is what counts here. The thought is what counts. So I am not in any way advocating or suggesting that I think you or your neighbor or your friend or your your relative dying of lung cancer should continue to smoke. I am not advocating that. I am here to create a bridge for people in this thought to start to understand how thoughts affect your reality, and how possibly if you know somebody or you yourself has a very hard time with your relationship or their relationship with a substance, it might be a very good thing for you to change your mind about it. And in fact, you might begin to experience lesser symptoms, and you might be able to experience lesser judgment just by even your body language about it. So this is something that I love to do more videos on, because I really believe this works, and I've done it with myself in different things in my life that I feel have an obsessive tendency, and I've noticed very, very, very positive results. And why is that? Because I think the mind is so powerful. This all boils back down to my favorite topic, which is alchemy. Basically, what that is the transformation of one thing into another. And sometimes that one thing comes from something similar and becomes something similar, but sometimes it comes from something absolutely completely different and becomes something completely different. But what it really is the transformation of something, and the transformation of your relationship with the substance that has been maybe very difficult for you. You're suffering from judgment, or you're suffering from ill health, or you're suffering from watching another go through any kind of array of problems regarding any kind of substance, or I say substance, but I really do mean any kind of obsession. You could even, a great example would be, this is one that touches home for me because it really relates to a very, very close person in my life, which I will not name, but one of what you would consider the closest, to home. And this person whom I love, and I have grown to accept this part about this person has a tendency to hoard, to collect too many things to the point where it's a problem, a real problem. I mean, where it is dirty and where people cannot move around and where it is plaguing this person's life. Now, I've grown since my whole tumultuous time of really being aggressively persistent on telling her how much I disliked this shit. I just revealed a piece of the information, but since that time, and from growing up a little bit in my head and my findings, I find there is no reason to push her anymore. They're just like in Buddhist thought, have no resistance, like perfect silk. I have stopped pushing, which is opposite, but I've stopped pushing. So I'm not resisting anymore the temptation to try and fix her problem because it bothers me. It's not my problem. And so if I want her to feel loved and accepted and not judged, I must. And therefore, the power in that is that if she feels accepted, loved, and not judged, she might at one point, maybe, and actually she has gotten a lot better, which is wonderful, and been a lot more open about wanting to change. She might want to change in the future just based upon the fact that she feels accepted and loved despite her addiction, which is an addiction to not throwing anything away and gathering everything around her like it's the end of the world. And so it's the same thing with an addiction. If you push somebody to stop doing something that they're not ready to do, you're fighting a very, very deeply, not only losing battle, but very sad one, because you are hurting somebody who's already hurting. And so to accept oneself or accept another for their issue is actually a form of helping them, because it helps them feel safe. And it's a fine line, but don't confuse that with enabling. There is enabling as well, but that is for another video, but I will touch a little bit on that. There is a way that you could enable people, but a lot of people get this mixed up with like aggressively or, overstepping in a way where they feel like they're trying to help when really, they're overstepping, but they think, oh, well, I don't want to enable this person. Well, enabling is different. Enabling would be to watch somebody who's blatantly, and it's a very fine line, and you actually need a lot of intuition and a lot of sensitivity to be able to figure out which part, what side you really are on, or actually you need a lot of sensitivity to realize, because the enabling part happens a lot when people are watching somebody who is obviously not obviously crying out for help, but is in subtle ways, and not doing anything about it, not doing anything about the asking for help. Enabling is when you don't do anything about a person who's obviously asking for help. And when I say obviously, I don't mean obviously. I mean, a lot of times these people will do it in ways that are very very quiet, because they're so ashamed. And so, or they're so something, and they've been changed. So that should be another video, but that's something I'll have to go into detail about in another video, which I'll try and do pretty soon, because I want people to know the difference between enabling and not enabling, and not interfering. Change your mind about anything that is causing you pain. If what's causing you pain is what's causing you pain is your shameful thoughts about the problem that's causing you more pain than the actual problem. So, I'm going to repeat this. If what is causing you the most pain is your shame, your embarrassment, over and above the actual problem, you might need to think about changing your mind about how you feel about the problem before you change your mind about what you're going to do about the problem. And I hope that was clear enough. I hope in the future to do a much clearer video, but this is a very passionate topic of mine because I really, really feel a responsibility, because I have gone through and overcome an addiction of my own, which I overcame by simply ceasing to try to quit and ceasing to be ashamed and ceasing to be negative about my addiction. And after that, going for the root of the problem, which was underneath the addiction and which was inside of me. The addiction is extraneous, is outside of me. The problem was inside of me. And I was able to do that. And I have so much empathy for people who are in so much pain because of their addiction. And I would love to enlighten and illuminate on that, because it was a very painful process for me. And the best thing that anybody could and did, and some people did not, but the best thing that people did or could have done was just to love me and support me during that time. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, much love.